At Wednesday night Bible study, we talked about today's gospel. We had a rich conversation. It was fun to revisit the familiar words and discover new thoughts and feelings we had about them. Then one of our group, Pam, said our discussion had made her recall a newspaper column Mike Royko had written years ago. A column in it in which he imagined what it would have been like if Mary and Joseph had arrived not in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago, but in Chicago in 1966. Mike Royko was a Chicago Daily News journalist, and he was an annoying thorn in the side of Richard J. Daley, mayor of Chicago between 1955 and 1976. Don't confuse him with his son, whom Royko also annoyed, but don't confuse him with his son, Richard M. Daley, who was mayor from 1989 to 2011. Anyway, Royko relentlessly criticized Richard J. for his political machine and the city government over which he presided. And Daley was often called by so many people the last of the big city bosses. In fact, Royko wrote a book entitled Boss about Daley, and it was a New York Times bestseller for 26 weeks, and it's still in print and still worth reading. Royko was syndicated in 600 newspapers and wrote over 7,500 columns during his career. In 1972, he won the Pulitzer Prize for commentary for his columns that had been written that year. So today, Christmas Eve, I'm going to read you his column about Mary and Joe. And sadly, it's still very relevant. First, though, here's what Royko had to say about it. I remember one column I started in 1963 and didn't finish for about 4 years. It was going to be a Christmas column. Each year I'd take it out, look at it, and throw it back in the drawer. In 1966, I finally decided to use it. I'd rewritten it about 10 times and I still didn't like it. Well, his readers did like it, and the Daily News published it every single Christmas Eve for the next 25 years. So here goes. The story of Mary and Joe. Mary and Joe were flat broke when they got off the bus in Chicago. They didn't know anybody, and she was expecting a baby. They went to a cheap hotel, but the clerk jerked his thumb at the door when they couldn't show a day's rent in advance. They walked the streets until they saw a police station, and the desk sergeant said they couldn't sleep in a cell, but he told them how to get to a welfare office. A man there said they couldn't get regular assistance because they hadn't been Illinois residents long enough. But he gave them the address of the emergency welfare office on the west side, and it was a 2-mile walk across Madison Street. Someone gave them a card with a number when they got there, and they sat down on a bench, stared at the peeling green paint, and waited for their number to be called. 2 hours later, a caseworker motioned them forward, took out blank forms, and asked questions. Any relatives? Any means of getting money? Any assets? Joe said he owned a donkey, and the caseworker told him not to get smart or he'd be thrown out, and Joe said he was sorry. The caseworker finished the forms and said they were entitled to emergency CTA fare and going to the county hospital because of Mary's condition. And he told Joe to go to an urban progress center for occupational guidance. And Joe thanked him, and they took the bus to the hospital. A guard told them to wait on a bench. They waited 2 hours, and then Mary got pains, and they took her away. Someone told Joe to come back tomorrow. He went outside and asked a stranger on the street for directions to an urban progress center. The stranger hit Joe in the head and took his overcoat. And Joe was still lying there when a paddy wagon came along, and they pinched him for being drunk on the street. Mary had a baby boy during the night. She didn't know it, but 3 foreign-looking men in strange, colorful robes came by to the hospital asking about her and the baby. A guard took them for hippies and called the police. They found odd spices on the men, so the narcotics detail took them downtown for further questioning. The next day, Mary awoke in a crowded ward, and she asked for Joe. Instead, a representative of Planned Parenthood committee came by to give her a lecture on birth control. And next, a social worker came for the case history. She asked Mary who the father was, and Mary answered, and the social worker ran for the nurse. The nurse questioned her, and Mary answered the same way. The nurse stared at her and ran for the doctor. The doctor wrote postpartum delusion on her chart. An ambulance took Mary to the Cook County Mental Health Clinic the next morning, and a psychiatrist asked her questions and pursed his lips at her answers. A hearing was held, and a magistrate committed her to the Chicago State Hospital. Joe got out of the House of Corrections a couple of days later and went to the county hospital for Mary. They told him she was at Chicago State and the baby had been placed in a foster home by the State Department of Children and Family Services. When Joe got to Chicago State, a doctor told him what Mary had said about the baby's birth. And Joe said, well, yeah, she was telling the truth. They put Joe in a ward at the other end of the hospital. Meanwhile, the 3 strangely dressed foreign-looking men were released after the narcotics detail could find no laws prohibiting possession of myrrh and frankincense. They returned to the hospital, but were then mistaken for civil rights demonstrators and were held in the county jail with $100,000 bond. By luck, Joe and Mary met on the hospital grounds, and they decided to tell the doctors what they wanted to hear. The next day, they were declared sane and were released. When they applied for custody of Mary's baby, however, they were told it was necessary for them to first establish a proper residence, to earn a proper income, and create a suitable environment. They applied at the Urban Progress Center for training under the Manpower Development Program. And Joe said he was very good at working with wood. And he, however, was assigned to a computer data processing class. And Mary said she'd gladly do domestic work, and she was assigned to a course in key punch operating. And both of them got $20 a week stipends. Several months later, they finished the training. Joe got a job in a gas station, and Mary went to work as a waitress. They saved their money, and then they hired a lawyer. Another custody hearing was held, and several days later, the baby was ordered returned to them. Reunited, finally, they got back to their 2-room flat and met the landlord on the steps. He told them the Urban Renewal had ordered the building torn down, and the City Relocation Bureau would get them another place. They packed, dressed the baby, and hurried to the Greyhound bus station. Joe asked the ticket man when the next bus was leaving. Where to? The ticket man asked. Anywhere, Joe said, as long as it is right now. He gave Joe 3 tickets, and in 5 minutes, they were on a bus heading for southern Illinois to the area known as Little Egypt. Just as the bus pulled out, the 3 strangely dressed men ran into the station, but they were too late. The bus was gone. So they started hiking down Route 66. But at last report, they were pinched on suspicion of being foreigners in illegal possession of gold. So long. Chicago. Amen.